No, sorry.
Cal, do you have a list of phone numbers?
Can you hear us now? Anyone?
He said I could have 19 boys. It's not that she's a bad kid. She's more expensive. She'll be 17 next month. She's only had her license, so she was born in May. She got her license in July. She hasn't even had a year. 3 months. And so I finally said, you have a job, girl. You save up money for another car, I'll double your money, we'll get you a new car. Not paying for other one.
I know I have 4 nephews and a niece, and the niece is such a handful. Even as an adult, she's a handful.
We wanted boys, but that's not in our cups, so.
Said I will have a pay of boys.
I have 2 girls having boys in May.
Yeah?
Yeah, 2 of them. I'm like,
Are they opposites or are they similar?
Yeah.
They're similar, they're gonna be leaders, it's just hard to raise leaders because they have a lot to say all the time.
That's Mackenzie's comeback. She's like, well, you raised me this way. And I'm like, I raised you to be that way in the community, not at home. You have no power here at home. I have all the power. She's the best big sister though. So she works at Express. She works 2 or 3 days a week. Every paycheck she takes away tries to pay for it. And takes her to buy a Hot Wheel at the grocery store. Something. She's always cute.
It was working before you guys got here.
They're gonna be really close, you know, but she's so sweet, like my oldest is so sweet with her, and then she's sweet with, like, and they can play together and everything. So, I guess that's good. I am worried about the teenage part. They're so sweet right now.
My older 2 are 18 months apart, so Nathan gets his permit in summer.
Yeah.
And my younger 2 girls can afford all this.
After the first one, I was like, you're gonna go out on your own.
Like the first one, I was like, it's not your fault. You ruined somebody with an insurance school. The second one, I'm like, yep. The alternator went out. That could have been your fault. The third one, though, the check-engine light was on. We bought her a PT Cruiser because we were home for Christmas. The check-engine light was on her up, and she never said anything. She comes, we live in a cul-de-sac. She comes barreling in this cul-de-sac, puts the car in park and turns out. She's like, the car's on fire. It's smoking. There's no coal in there. I'm like, you can either pay to fix that car,
Yeah.
I'll help you, or you can save money for another car.
Vanessa, can you hear us?
Yeah, my
I can't hear anything, Lisa.
Hello, Vanessa. Can you hear us now? No, it's a blank stare.
I see Scott speaking into the mic, but not hearing anything. Oh, I can hear you.
You can hear me? Are we able to get a hold of Rebecca to ask her to log back in?
Yeah, I did. She's trying to get,
Thank
I
you.
guess her internet. died.
Good point.
Phone or something?
Thomas, is there a way to connect by phone?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can probably hear that phone ringing. So once we have quorum, we
Yeah.
need to wait for Rebecca to log back in, and then we'll start the meeting. School district calling me. Here we are. Rebecca, can you hear us?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, with that, it is 6:16 on March 15th, 2023. I am going to call to order the Council on the Family Resource Center's meeting. Item 1 are opening items. Item 1.02 is roll call.
Okay, trying to multitask. Rachel Kingham. Sherilyn Elcano. Scott Benton.
I'm here.
Rebecca Paris.
Here.
Susan Sievert.
I'm here.
Vanessa.
Vanessa Van Cor.
Here.
Thank you. And we will move on to item 2, which are our presentation, discussion, information, and action items. Item 2.01 is the approval of our minutes from our January, I don't think that's the correct date, January 1st of 2023? January 18th of 2023, on the meeting on the Council on Family Resource Centers.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 18th.
Thank you, Vice Chair Sievert. Is there a second? I will second the motion. With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Wait, let me back up. I need to ask for public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We have none.
Thank you. With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. We will move on to item 2.02. I see that Adrian has made it. Item 2.02 is a presentation and recognition of the Feemster family to honor their contributions to the Washoe County School District community. So with that, I would like to speak on behalf of the Council on Family Resource Centers and let you know that we are pleased to present an award to the Feemster family for your years of service and countless contributions to the community and to the Washoe County School District, including Daryl's groundbreaking work at the Glenn Duncan Family Focus Center, which is the precursor to the work that we do here at the Family Resource Centers now. Your positive impact to our community is recognized and greatly appreciated. So on behalf of the council, I would like to say thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you for being a part of a great legacy. I was talking to our staff liaison this morning. While I never attended HUG, I went to Reno High School. Dolores was my mother's counselor many, many moons ago. I turned 40 this year, so if that tells you anything, my mom graduated pregnant with me. So 40 years ago, the legacy started for my family, and I'm going to ask the council to chime in on their comments and anything that they want to show towards the family, the Feemster family. I'm going to turn it over to our vice chair.
Work. Yes, so I have known some of the Feemsters over the years, and the name is iconic in this community. And it's always nice to see that always the next generation picks up the banner and continues. So again, I want to thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I live in Sun Valley. I know you've had actually influence in my community too. And again, I do thank you for that. And this is a very well-deserved award.
Thank you. Vanessa, would you like to say anything? No?
Just echo the same sentiment of appreciation. I also appreciate that we have this as something in our meeting, which I think is really nice to have the recognition.
Yes, thank you. Rebecca, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything.
Awesome, thank you. So with that, I have this beautiful plaque that I'm going to walk out to you guys.
Chair Bitten, may I say
No.
something on
Yes.
behalf of staff?
Yeah, no, yes, I'll sit down.
We wanted to also thank your family so much. We are so honored to have a brand new Feemster Family Resource Center in our family. You have touched the lives of so many people, students, and people who are working now and allowing us to do the work that we do. It's your legacy that has brought us all here, doing the work with our families, making direct impact and strengthening our community. So we thank you so much. And we are so appreciative of being able to, and honored to be able to work in the Feemster Family Resource Center. So we thank you.
Yes, Ms. Castillo.
So my name is Brenda Costello, for the record, and I just want to say how honored I am to be at the Feemster Family Resource Center. So there is a giant sign that says Feemster Family Resource Center, and it faces the cafeteria. So every day, 1,958 students walk by that sign. So.
And if that doesn't impact the work that we do and the legacy that you guys are leading and charged with, I don't know what does. Sitting here today, I look out into the four of you that are here, and Adrienne has touched my life in just her advocacy. And I know that she's leaving the great mark that her grandmother left for her to lead, and I appreciate that. I've seen Lonnie at many, many meetings advocating for different things in our community, so I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. It doesn't just impact the generation today, it impacts the generation that we are trying to lead through our school district in our community. So I appreciate all of you guys and the work that you guys do. Now can I go? Okay. Let me bring all the rest of the things that go with it. Should I read what's on the plaque? Sure. So on the plaque it says, "Above and Beyond, awarded to the Feemster family. For meeting and exceeding the highest standards, you have surpassed expectations and reached for the stars. Thank you for your remarkable performance, your many contributions to our community." So on behalf of the Family Resource Center, or the Council for Family Resource Centers, I want to present this to the Feemster family. Yes, if you guys have some words to share, we would love to hear them.
Now, do we divide our time amongst us? Do we get the 2 minutes? Oh my gosh. So, just the words and the energy. Thank you. Thank you, Body. It's just sometimes the room is packed and it's hard to speak when there's so many, and then it's so tough to speak when there's just a few, because it's so important and meaningful. And when I came back here in 2019 and set out to do the work that I'm doing, it was to honor my past loved ones, my grandmother, my uncle. And your words mean a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're the eldest.
the eldest, that gets you nothing. Sometimes when I walk through the door and is who's going to go first, and I say, well, age before beauty. So people get confused. They don't. Well, I'm the oldest, so I get to go through first. I just want to say thank you all for recognizing the work that my mother, as a matriarch of the family, and of course my father, to even manage 11, 12 kids. We had a little baby brother passed away early, but I never forget him because he was one of the 12 siblings here that grew up in Reno. Then I found out we had 4 more siblings that I didn't know about, and the family got larger. But my mother taught us the importance of family, and my brother carried that on, and I tried and follow in my mother's footsteps and keep up with my brother, but they instilled the importance of family. And so I'm really delighted to see you carry on the work of helping strengthening families that sometimes don't have strength. And by having a resource center there, that it is so powerful to save some of those young people. Because I grew up in Reno, and I went through the school system. My mother went through the school system. I went to Reno High. HUG wasn't built at the time, but my mother went to Reno High, and that was well, she had been in Catholic school all her life, but the racial slurs and things got too bad, so they had to put her in the public school. There were some problems at that time, and you know, y'all know your history, so it's important to even be considered part of the community and achieve something. But I'm really pleased to see my niece Adrienne following her footsteps and organizing and getting people active, and I try and do the same with my kids. Now I've got grandkids, so thank you all very much for your consideration and your kindness for even thinking about us. Because my mother, she wasn't, like she said, I didn't have a lot of money, so I gave what I could, my time. And when you already had 12 kids, it's like, that's illegal to have that many children under the care of one woman. So again, thank you all very much.
In the name of divine synchronicity, I just found out about this today. I don't live in Reno anymore, but I did graduate from HUG High School. I'm Gary Feemster. I am the youngest. That is the oldest. So this is all divine. And my sister just drove in today from the Bay Area, again, not even knowing. So this is my brother, Daryl, and my mom orchestrating this moment. I just want to say thank you all for acknowledging us. Thank you for the kind words that were spoken. They definitely touched my heart and encouraged me to continue in the spirit of my family. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. At the request of our vice chair, we would like a picture with you guys, if that's okay.
And I want to share for the record. Can I?
Of course.
Okay. And now I can pull back my little choke at tears. I want to say that my family, to me, try to talk a little more clear here, y'all got me choked up. And so they're my multivitamins, I call them. Because as my Uncle Gary said, you have the oldest to the youngest. I get something different from each one of them. And I think I've got about 60 plus cousins. So we're pretty big. And I want to say that the goal was to illuminate the message and the hard work of my family, not just the name, but what that name meant over many generations. What my grandmother taught me: if you don't have it, put on your shoes, go out and do it. Show up, be that voice. Don't wait for the other person to do that. And so that's what I hope to achieve by letting the name ring on the hilltop where she served for over 35 years as a counselor, as a mentor, as a community matriarch and mother, that no matter what background you come from, what obstacles are before you, there is a way if there is a will. And you just, each one teach one, each one connect to another, use the resources that are around you. And we're all only about 6.6 degrees of separation. So y'all are all probably in some way or another a cousin or something down the line. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Photo op. Thank you.
that now?
Either way, if you want to be in it, I have a beautiful Vanna White
Oh, this is so pretty.
so that you can be in it.
Look at that.
Oh, we're not.
We're exceeding the highest standards. We surpass expectations. Oh, this is beautiful.
Turn the thing so they
way?
can, to the camera.
Okay. And we can pull this away.
We can, actually touch it. You
Yeah,
guys
that'll
reach
be
in.
good.
You
Use
guys
the
reach in and
podium.
touch that.
Touch the,
We're gonna do it inside here.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're in the
nice. Inside the well.
circle. Oh, I feel like I should perform some Shakespeare or something.
Everyone's in.
Okay.
All right, let's go a little closer, Scott. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's do a couple more, just in case. All right.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Adrian, we have a seat open on the council.
If you want to join.
Really? I'm not ashamed. Thank you. All right, with that, I don't know how anything else can follow that. We should have put that at the end and make you sit for a whole meeting. But we will move on to item 2.03, which is presentation and discussion of the Washoe County School District Family Resource Center's funding status, including the status of grant applications and possible action to provide recommendation to staff on scheduling future fundraisers and publicity events. This is for possible action. I will start the conversation by saying I'm going to toss it over to Ms. Morello.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a little context. It's been a while since we've seen each other. This was a conversation that we had at our last meeting. Very often when we're discussing and having these meetings, fundraising comes up because, as you know, we're all grant funded. And so frequently you all have expressed an interest in thinking about fundraising and ideas around that. So we decided to put as an action item, a possible action item on this agenda, any ideas, thoughts around fundraising that you all as a council have. And so I'm going to turn it over to Chair Benton or any of you who want to chime in. This is really an agenda item for you all to share your ideas and thoughts around fundraising or any other sorts of funding sorts of ideas.
Thank you. I know that we've had some conversation in previous meetings. We weren't able to take any action on them. If I remember, Councilmember Van Cor requested this item so that we can continue the conversation and maybe take some action. So, Vanessa, if you want to lead the conversation, I will certainly follow.
Thank you, Vanessa Vancourt for the record. I went back and looked at my notes from our January conversation around this, and I think we've talked about some really big ideas that would be really, really awesome and exciting, but require a great deal of energy. And I want to propose ideas that feel doable and scalable and that we can build upon. So I am borrowing this from I'm on a board for a nonprofit who is in our community, who's hosting an open house. And I thought, seeing as we have 2 new community centers, we might consider something like that, where maybe as board members, we can contribute by strategically inviting certain folks in the community. And I think it would be great to draw on, if there is an existing list of people who've previously supported or contributed to the Family Resource Center, as well as new folks who maybe haven't been, to host sort of like an open house, but be very explicit that it is a fundraiser, because I think there's a lot of value in being explicit that there's going to be an ask at some point. And we can certainly plan for some sort of campaign leading up to that, where there could be public engagement, but that was an idea I wanted to propose as something that might feel doable, where we can think of key folks we can invite into the space and think about something like an open house or slash fundraiser to engage with folks in person, and also just as a storyteller thinking about Family Resource Center Day, which is in May, and seeing if we can do some alignment around that.
I think that's a great idea. I'm looking out to the staff to make sure that it's doable. Something like that is not a big ask of you, because as council members, we can't do much. We rely on the staff. So I want to make sure that it's not a big ask of you guys.
Well, and I guess that would be an ask, or excuse me, a question I would have is what is within our capacity to do, right? So if I'm proposing a storytelling campaign, is that something that I can do as an in-kind service as a board member? Right? I guess I don't understand where sort of our boundaries are in terms of where we can help and what we can do, given the quorum considerations we also have to make.
So as I understand it, you could do something like that. It would essentially be like someone is volunteering their time to contribute to the Family Resource Centers. That the one thing that we always have to remember is ensuring that we don't meet outside of a previously scheduled meeting and we have quorum. And so in thinking about these kinds of fundraising events and the capacity of staff, I'm not sure how big these events would be. I think we were able to some extent work on some of the logistics. We may need the council to help with recruiting volunteers, maybe if it was like an event of a day, and depending on how big that event would be, we would need volunteers. But I think it's something we could do. We would just need to kind of talk through logistics and see if there's volunteers to help with sort of the heavy lift of an event if we did something like that.
In saying that, hearing that Family Resource Center Day is in May, are we able to call an additional meeting in April to plan the logistics of just that event? Or is that something that is not within our purview as the council?
I believe we can.
Sorry, what was your question?
If we're allowed to call an additional meeting to what is previously scheduled, do we have to vote on and approve an additional meeting in April to plan the logistics of this event?
Yes, you would have to, and during the meeting, talk about the logistics of the event. That was, and do an action item on that.
Okay. So I don't think we're agendized to really go through all of that, but we can form an action based on the event and then move forward on planning the event. If I hear Vanessa correctly, she wants to do it around May when Family Resource Center Day is available to us. Correct, Vanessa?
That was my thought, just to center an open house experience around Family Resource Center Day. I had it in my notes as May 15th, which is a Monday. Mother's Day is the Sunday prior, so somewhere around there, whether it's that May or in that week. But yes, to answer your question, around that date was my thought.
And sorry, I have actually looked at the agenda item, and I think it's worded broadly enough where that you're going to be providing recommendations on future fundraising and publicity activities that you could determine logistics now for that.
Okay.
But all of this is, of course, recommendations, and staff takes that into consideration. I think you don't have to do another meeting to do the logistics of this, because I think this agenda item covers that because it's broadly drafted.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarification. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Vanessa, to guide us through what that looks like and what you would like to see happen.
Oh boy. Okay. What that looks like in terms of what we need to do next. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds like we can make recommendations, and wouldn't we need to hear back from the staff if they're on board? And could we plan via email? I know we can't meet, but
With email,
I'm
you
not
have to be
sure.
about quorum too, but you could email it to one of you could email it directly to me. I could facilitate individually that conversation probably and do that coordination, but you can't have like email where you're all on it and there's a reply all. If that makes sense. But
So
but
what-
I'm happy to coordinate communication.
Yeah, what I would like to see, Vanessa, is something in the form of a motion making recommendations to the staff, and then we can pinpoint a person on the commission, Ms. Van Cor yourself, as the point of contact for this event, if you're willing to do so. If not, I will gladly take it on and be the point of contact. But I think based on what I'm hearing, we should provide a recommendation to, one, ask the staff if the week of the 15th or something of that nature, if we give them a specific date to work with, or we give them a date range, provide a recommendation that they look into the date and is the facility available, and then what those logistics look like for volunteers. That would be something on us. And then you can also include in your motion that the board will invite people and have the ability to invite people, and so does the school district, something like that.
Okay.
Or if there's
Well, then
anything
I-
else that you
okay.
see that needs to happen logistically as a recommendation to Rochelle and her staff, then either you or I can be the point person of contact.
I'm happy to be the point person. I think it feels to me like the motion before us is to make this recommendation or suggestion to the staff to see if that time period is feasible and available, and then individually coordinate with Rochelle on next steps in terms of logistics, and I'm happy to be the point person to do that.
That's great. If you could also just say what the recommendation is, like the actual fundraiser of idea as well, as part of that motion. Yes.
Yes, okay. And to add to the motion, the recommendation for consideration for the Family Resource Center staff is to host an open house / fundraiser to raise awareness and funds for the organization at one of the Family Resource Center locations in May to coincide with Family Resource Center Day.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Before we go to discussion, I'm going to ask for public comment.
There is none.
Thank you. Hearing that there's none, is there any discussion from the council? I cannot hear you, Rebecca. I can see that you're talking, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Rebecca, for the record. So at the open house, how exactly would this go? Would people just come in to kind of like get a tour of the centers, or would there be some kind of like lunch, or like what would it entail to get people to want to come to fundraise for it?
I think, Vanessa, for the record, I can imagine there being some food component, which again, I think in terms of logistics planning, we can think about, in-kind donations to support snacks for folks. And I think it would be nice to have some sort of program in the sense that there might be some tour component and then someone from staff who can make remarks. And that's part of where we could share some stats on the impact of the Family Resource Center. And depending on at which location it's hosted, it can be followed by a tour, or folks can be invited to sort of have their own self-guided experience, and thinking about ways we can populate the experience with data points that speak to impact and community reach. But I'm picturing something just a couple of hours, some light food, some remarks, and then a very explicit ask for support. And I know we'll have to think about the time as well to make sure that it's accessible to folks who maybe work more traditional jobs, and weather's always a factor here, so that may impact the timeline. But again, the staff can come back and advise on maybe when would be a better time, because perhaps May is terrible because it's really busy, and they may recommend a different time frame. But in terms of programming, that's what I have in mind, but obviously open to other feedback.
I think you are leading us on a path of success. Just hearing your vision is similar to some other programs that I have attended for nonprofits and in the community. So I think it's not without reach, and replicating the wheel that's already there is great. Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. So with that, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Staying on that same topic, is there any other recommendations or guidance that we can ask for from the staff around our fundraising efforts? The one question that I have for Rochelle is, I know last meeting we talked about some applications for funding that were submitted. We heard back on the community and schools. Were there any other grants that we have heard back from?
So we're in the process currently of applying for the Children's Trust Fund grant. That application was just released 2 days ago. Title 4B was a couple weeks ago. So we have a draft ready for that. Those are due next month, I think it is, or the end of this month. So we're in the process of writing 2 of our federal grants currently. We have another one that is upcoming that may be released at the end of this month through the Office of Cortez Masto that we will be involved in as well. I don't have the details yet because it hasn't been released, but the plan is to include us somehow in that. And then Human Services Agency, who last year dedicated about $98,000 to fund 2 of our family advocate positions, have expressed interest in continuing that funding. And so they are currently looking for funding to continue that for at least another year. So we've got a lot of stuff up in the air. Probably won't know the decisions until closer to June.
Okay. And then also in previous meetings, we talked about some funding that came in maybe through ARPA, maybe not through ARPA, but some of the temporary funding.
We do have some staff that are funded through ESSERS.
ESSERS.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so some of them may move into the Cortez Masto
Okay.
grant, depending on how that grant writing process goes.
And when does the ESSERS grant, is it 24?
Yes. It depends on which one they're in, because we have
Okay.
a ESSERS 1, 2, and 3. And so I'd actually have to look back because I can't memorize all of these end dates, but there is one that ends this May, and then there's another one that ends in June of 2024, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff around our funding status or any funding opportunities? Thank you, Vanessa, for leading that conversation. I think it's a great idea. I look forward to hearing back from the staff. Okay, with that, I will close item 2.03 and move on to item 2.04, which is a presentation and discussion of the Washoe County School District Family Resource Center's 2022-2023 school year data and outreach events, including future community outreach events and volunteer opportunities. I invite the ever so famous Brenda Castillo to the table.
So I'm just going to hit the highlights. We are at 6:50 and we want to go over a strategic plan a little bit as well. So this is kind of what some of the things that we've done since our last meeting. We do a lot around food and basic needs at all of our centers. But you can see from the list that we've also attended. We're planning the Family Health Festival. One of those will be at O'Brien and one of them will be at Feimster. We attended International Women's Day. So one of our directors, one of our FRC specialists received Community Activist of the Year award. She was nominated and presented with the award at International Women's Day, which was really touching. We always, again, food pretty much is everywhere. And what's upcoming, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. So you'll be seeing all pinwheels around. So remember us when you look at the pinwheels. So one of my grants is child abuse prevention, and so we talk about pinwheels for prevention. And The big one that's coming up in the yellow on the bottom is the Feemster FRC. We're going to do a big community resource fair there on April 19th. And right now, I think we have 20 plus community agencies that will be at that. So that's our outreach.
At that community resource fair, what is the targeted population and what are some of the agencies that will be there?
So all of the MCOs, the Medicaid providers, will all be invited. Liberty Dental will be invited. I do know Black Wall Street will be there.
I think that I saw a WIC on there, possibly Mobile Harvest. Yeah. I don't know for sure about Mobile Harvest, but there was a discussion about that. So yeah, quite a few. Oh, and they're going to do free dental screenings, their vaccinations, their.
Oh, that's right. Washoe County Health Department will be there as well.
Awesome. Good job. Thank you. Any questions from the commission or council? Okay, take it away. All right, Mr. Wiley.
Hold on, I got to pull up your presentation again.
So while she's doing that, I just want to preface this a little bit. The data, I'm just doing a year-to-date from our fiscal year. So this will go July 1 through December 31st. eLogic, the database that we currently use for all of our data, they've been doing some updates and some changes, and so there was a previous update that came in, and some of our clients weren't tracking properly, so I didn't want to skew any of the data and make sure that we weren't reporting accurately. So hopefully at our next meeting, I'll be able to, they have that issue figured out and they're working on it, and so I just wanted to make sure that we had the most reliable data. So.
And while she's pulling that up, what are some of the trends that you're seeing, either increase or decrease?
In looking at this data that we pulled from this fiscal year, lots of, as she's pulling it up right now, thank you. Food nutrition has really been high, something that a lot of our families really seek out and really need the resource for. We have food pantries at some of our resource centers, like North Valleys has a food pantry that they run. They do the mobile harvest out at Sun Valleys. So that's a high item that we provide. We do over the holiday months, November, December, we partner with local churches and provide food boxes to families during that time. So food nutrition is always really a high one and a high need. And then currently right now, I would say utility assistance is very high just because of the current storms that we've been having. Lots of snow, it's cold, and then the price, I know you guys have seen in the news, the price of gas, things like that going up. So I'm sure that that's all driving a lot of the need here for us. So that's kind of what we're seeing. Rental assistance as well, just with the current climate of Reno, Sparks, all throughout Washoe County with rental increases, that kind of thing. So rent's also been very big, but we've partnered with a lot of agencies. Washoe County has some funding that we're just coming online with. They're doing some eviction prevention and some different programs. So we're happy to partner with them. We just went through some of that, and so we're hoping that we can definitely provide. We were selected as one of the partners to partner with them and do those applications and submit those. So we're hoping that we'll be able to continue helping those families and hopefully advocate for some extra funding that is much needed for our families to continue, finding permanent supportive housing and staying in their homes where they're at.
And with that, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have operated a similar program with similar funding. This is just more funding added to that pot.
Yes, the programs are a little bit different. I think some of them are we were selected for eviction prevention. So we'll be doing a lot of, it's a very small, it's mostly for Sparks and unincorporated Washoe County is what the funding is geared towards. So not really in the city limits of Reno and some of those places that have a high rate of rent increases in some of the rental requests that we're getting. It's similar funding that is coming, and then there's another one that's for housing. So they're actually working towards housing those families and like for homeless and stuff like that. So, but we're not doing that portion of it. We're just mostly doing the eviction prevention.
Awesome. And while we work through the technology issues, when we talk about outreach, I know oftentimes some of the rural areas in Washoe County, like Gerlach and Incline, may be not incorporated or may miss the mark of being included. Have we in the past, as the Family Resource Centers, done any outreach to these smaller communities within Washoe County?
I think Brenda can speak to that a little bit more than I can, so I'll have her come up and share a little bit more about that.
So Brenda Costello for the record. So we have gone to Gerlach many times, not lately, but we have gone to Gerlach many times. We also, we serve Incline as well, especially through like our NV Energy Philanthropic Fund. We do quite a bit of power assistance up there because of snow. If COVID taught us one thing, it's that we can do, as we sit here waiting for technology, we can do most things over the phone or over Zoom. So for instance, when somebody needs their power bill paid, we have learned that if we just tell them, just take a screenshot of your bill and text it to us, that's all we need. Awesome. So, COVID is awful, it's horrible. However, we have learned some workarounds, definitely. We're very good at pivot. So yeah, we do, like the Sparks Family Resource Center covers Wadsworth and Gerlach, technically, and then for Central Reno, that would be Incline. But since we have one Family Resource Center number, you just call one number, you're going to get somebody.
Awesome. And with the SAFE program from NV Energy, is it limited to certain residents, or do all Washoe County residents qualify? So
the SAFE program is a statewide program. In the north, it's called SAFE. In the south, it's called REACH. In Las Vegas, it's geared directly towards seniors. In the north, we serve everybody from Elko to Washoe County. It's done by county. Each county is given an allotment. Okay. We went over our allotment last year. Darn. So they covered everything, but power bills went up quite a bit. And there is no income qualifying. You just can't have received help in the last 12 months, but anyone can receive assistance. You just have to have a past due bill.
Excuse me, Chair Benton. We lost our two members up on the Teams meeting, so we're not at quorum right now. So can you?
We will recess this meeting until quorum can be established. We are recessing at 6:57.
Okay, folks, we're back. Testing. Can you hear us? Apologies.
Yes.
Can you see the
Yes.
presentation now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.
All right, we are going to come back to our meeting, Council on Family Resource Center's meeting at 6:59. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Wiley.
All right.
No, ma'am, not the next slide.
Pause for technical.
So remind me, with CallRail, you can text from there. It's an app that you download and you can text.
Yeah,
And
so
that's how
CallRail tracks all of our phone calls, text messages, all that kind of stuff. So, and we have the ability to send multimedia text messages. So, like a lot of clients send us documents, things that we need through that service. And so, like Brenda was saying a little bit earlier, we could do a lot of things remotely and not. So, transportation is always a barrier for a lot of our clients, especially like when they live in rural areas or in places that they can't get to our offices. Then we can do a lot of that work over that CallRail app. So it's really awesome to be able to have that, and it's a huge resource for us to really be able to meet the needs of our clients.
Awesome.
All right. Hopefully you guys can see the eLogic data. As I stated earlier, this is just a quick overview of our year-to-date fiscal year. So this is July 1, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. You can see on here, just want to highlight a couple things. We've helped serve about 1,400 families, over almost 3,000 individuals. As I was saying before, a big need during this time, just because of the holiday events over the months November and December. 2,456 families with food and nutrition, so that's food boxes, food distribution, food pantry lists, that kind of thing, to help those families. Applications you can see there for most of those are SNAP, Medicaid. Other applications that we've submitted, utility assistance applications through Energy Assistance Program, quite high. Like I said, those were some of the colder months. So that's also going to, next time we have our meeting, expect those numbers to tick up a lot just because of putting a lot of applications in for energy assistance. And then wellness, we had some extra funding this last fiscal year to be able to purchase some wellness items, so like hygiene kits, hygiene items, clothing, those kind of things. So every center was able to purchase those and have those on hand at their centers. So you could see there we helped over about 1,025 units of service to families under that. And then lots of referrals. Lots of our families get, I'm not sure if this is a duplicate for referrals. So 1,700 families got referrals out. So most of our families get multiple referrals to different agencies, different places. So I don't know if that's a duplicate count. I would assume that it's probably not, but I would have to look at that. So lots of referrals, trying to work with our other community partners and community agencies to provide those resources.
Two questions that I have. On there, it has education and some assistance with education. Do you guys help with the HiSET? And if not, what does that education component look like?
We do have some capabilities to pay for the HiSET, and we do help. We work with Rise Academy to do those. They have a TABE test, which is the pre-assessment, so we help pay for some of those, and then helping to pay for that Rise, the HiSET to get their high school equivalency. But a lot of our education is around school supplies, so backpacks, the binders, notebooks, papers, that kind of thing, and then we provide referrals to education, training, those kinds of things.
Awesome. And then the other one I noticed under wellness is clothing vouchers. What are some of the partners that you partner with for those vouchers?
So we partner with Catholic Charities and Good Shepherd's Clothing Closet.
Awesome.
So North Valleys actually has a clothing closet there at their at their center. Sparks, we refer a lot to the Good Shepherd's Clothing Closet over off Greenbrae. We also partner with Project 150, so a lot of our youth that middle school, high school range, we take them over there and we get them some clothing through them as well. And then we, like some of the thrift stores and things like that, we can refer them over to there. Some of our other partners, like the Domestic Violence Resource Center, they have some clothing, things like that, Safe Embrace. So we refer to a lot of those programs that have that ability to provide a little bit more robust. We also partnered over the winter months with the Big Reno Coat Drive. They donated I don't know, thousands of jackets to our students, and so we got to be able to disperse some of those to our families.
I think they said about 2,800 coats. Yeah.
Do you have any of those partners come like to the O'Brien Resource Center? Because there's, I mean, it's a great distance to travel to Catholic Charities in downtown Reno. Do you ever have them come out? If not, is that an option for you guys to have them come out?
Have the like Catholic Charities come out. I'm not sure on that. We haven't had them come out. Lisa definitely knows some more, so I'll turn it over to Lisa.
She thinks she's going to get out of it.
There we go. Lisa Guzman for the record. I don't know everything about this, but I know Jessie has worked on, and I think this already happened, that she had Catholic Charities come out for an Immigration Assistance Day.
That and Good Shepherd has co-located some of their services or their clothes closet there. So there are examples where we co-locate services, but it's not across every center. So for example, at the Desert Skies, Food Bank comes out and does the mobile harvest distribution there. So it can look different at every center, but there are examples. And WIC is at the Central Family Resource Center, so there's examples of co-locating services, so families are not having to travel.
Awesome.
And we are open to more, and have had talks about telehealth and those kinds of things way far out, right? But that would be something that would be amazing if we could do something like that.
Awesome.
All right, if there's no questions on the data, we'll go over to CallRail. CallRail is our phone tracking system that we use a lot for our phone calls and for our text messaging. Every center has the ability to have their own phone line, and each advocate has their own phone to be able to text and call into. So this is just broken down by each center. As you guys can see, our FRC call flow, this is our main phone number where they can choose which center that they want to get in contact with. We have extensions for every center. This is the main line where everybody mostly calls into as a first-time point of contact. So you can see our total calls was 2,790, and it says 1,086 of those calls were first-time callers. So about half of those, a little under half, were first-time callers to that line. So as CallRail is kind of starting to pick back up, and we're trying to get these new numbers out, a lot of our families that have been working with us for a while are used to our old numbers. So getting that word out and doing a lot of our outreach, we're able to get this new number out and be able to track the calls that are coming in. As you can see, everybody else's information there. North Valley's has a high number. They do their the clothing closet as well as the food pantry out there, so they have a quite high influx of families that are coming out there to pick up food and clothing. And then Hug FRC, I just want to show that one at the bottom. That's our newest, the Feimster Family Resource Center. That we just implemented and has been trying to get that up and going. So that one's doing really well, and hopefully next time when I bring some additional data to you guys at our next meeting, those numbers will tick up and you'll be able to see the impact that center's having in that community.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions, comments from the council? Wiley, if I had to leave with one piece of information that you just gave us, what would that be? If I had to leave with only one piece of information, what is the highlight that you want me to leave with?
I think just that the impact that, across all 5 centers that we're having on our families, we get over 2,000 to 3,000 calls that are fielded in just this short period of time from July to December. And the impact that we're having with the food that we're able to provide, the clothing, the shelter, all the stuff that our students need to be successful, to be able to show up at school, and to do those things, especially with the way the economy and everything has changed quite rapidly since the pandemic. Being able to provide that support and that help to all of our families to make sure that they have like I said, a stable, adequate place to reside. They have the food to feed their families, and then to be, set out on their goals to be successful and to achieve those goals is something that is huge for us. So I would hope that you leave the impact that we were able to have on, 1,500 families over this short period of time.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other presentations under this item? Are we ready to move into our next item? All right, we'll move into item 2.05, which is the review of the Washoe County School District Family Resource Center Strategic Plan. But before I introduce our presenter, Wiley and Brenda, thank you for your presentations. Ms. Lisa.
Thank you. Lisa Guzman for the record. I'm going to be talking about our strategic plan this evening. So you may remember this is what came to be out of a statewide effort that began in 2020, where Sheila Leslie was taking a look at FRCs statewide to gain insight into our strengths and our challenges, and hopefully have something grow out of that all FRCs statewide could use for publicity and to leverage funding. And it was a very informative process. So if we are able to have access to that document, it is quite lengthy, and it is not my intention to review the entire document in detail at this time. However, part of that document is 4 pages of the strategic plan for Washoe County School District FRC that grew out of that effort. So that's what we will be covering. And I was thinking that I would just kind of approach it in general terms to address the 4 goals that came out of that. So should I pause while we see if that comes up, or should I continue? Or what? Okay, great.
And before, so we can set the tone, were the 4 goals already adopted by the FRCs, or is that something that later on down the road we'll be talking about?
So actually, this is a strategic plan for 2020 to 2025. Okay. So we're right smack in the middle of that. And there were 4 kind of overarching goals. So I will share what the goals are and what progress we have made thus far, and any areas that we have not yet addressed that we still need to get to.
Okay.
So the first goal is to develop a diversified funding portfolio to strengthen the FRC's ability to provide comprehensive family support services to all families in need in Washoe County by sustaining current funding, seeking new partnerships with local and state government, and identifying private funding opportunities. So I think that we have, that we're pretty well on track with this, because fortunately we have been able to maintain our current funding. We've been able to secure additional funding through the CDC, which provided some COVID-related funds where we could pay for staff, we could pay for rental assistance, and power bills. So that has been extremely helpful. We have also, as you know, been working closely with the MCOs, which also provide funding opportunities. Jesse has tapped into some of those for North Valleys, and I'm happy to say that we recently met with Health Plan of Nevada. They're going to be providing some hygiene items and gift cards for us, which is very helpful, and we do have plans to be working with the rest of them. So that's another funding stream that we've been able to tap into.
For those of us that don't know what MCO stands for, will you remind us?
Managed Care Organization, which are the options that people who have Medicaid are able to choose from. So it's kind of like their HMO plan, and that would be Anthem, Silver Summit, Molina, or Health Plan of Nevada. So we're very pleased to be working with them. As you know, we were working on the community schools grant, which unfortunately did not get funded, but there's always a next time, so we'll be working on that. So I feel like we have been pretty successful in maintaining and diversifying our funding stream. Any questions or comments on goal 1 before I move to goal 2?
Any questions from our friends on virtual friends? Nope, I'm hearing it. Seeing a head nod. 2 head nods? Okay.
Okay. Goal 2, to strengthen and support FRC staff and their ability to provide efficient and knowledgeable service delivery through leadership development, training opportunities, and peer support activities. So some of the strategies and activities around this we're doing, actually at the time we were looking at quarterly all-staff meetings, which we've pretty much been doing bi-monthly, which is very nice to provide training opportunities, bring staff together. So that's been really helpful. We have also provided for staff training in motivational interviewing, case management, conflict resolution, and there's actually another training for that coming up. And I'm very pleased to share also that last week, we, for the entire department, had a training with Awaken. For anyone who's not familiar with them, they're a local nonprofit devoted to addressing trafficking for adults as well as children. And that's very relevant for the intervention department with boots on the ground, working with students, working with families. So that was very informative. One of the other activities that came out of this was client alerts. If we have a client that's maybe trying to access services at more than one center, or if there's just like a really big issue around that client, that staff will send a client alert to all of the other staff members so they have a heads up. That has been coming in handy. One thing that was in here that we do need to work on a little bit more was cross-training within the intervention department. So that's something that we can look forward to doing. That was goal number 2. Any questions or comments?
If you don't mind indulging me,
Of
what
course.
trainings do you see that the centers are lacking, or the staff in the centers are lacking, that maybe those of us that are in the community might be able to tap into a resource to bring that community partner to the FRCs?
Nothing really jumps to my mind for something that's lacking, but I think that our staff is very open to any kind of training around case management, working with families. We just welcome any opportunities for that.
Brenda Costello for the record. You keep dragging me up. So I think we can always have ongoing training about trauma-informed care. So many of the families, when they get to us, are in crisis mode, and oftentimes we're just dealing with them like by rote. Have you done this? Have you done this? And they're not even hearing it. So we always have new staff, and we always need reminders. So trauma-informed training is always on the forefront of my mind. So we actually had a retreat last year, and I did a book study on the Oprah Winfrey book about what happened to you. So because it's our jobs, but sometimes we forget that it's human lives.
I think something that I've tapped in my day job is implicit bias. And we all have our own biases, and really understanding that we don't need to implicate those onto others, and making sure that we put what we think is right aside, right? And so that's why I asked, because I think I can connect you with something like that. It has changed my forethought of serving homeless people, and making sure that we remember that they're people first, and their crisis or their situation doesn't define them. And I see that similarly happening in the FRCs, is making sure that when they come in crisis, we invite them back when they're not in crisis, so that we can continue to provide services, and that our biases are not always right. Like we may think because this person is X, Y, and Z, we're going to not provide services because they don't need them. Everybody that walks in that door needs something. Everybody who calls needs something.
See, I invite myself up here now. So, as Rochelle said earlier, we are exploring the Children's Trust Fund grant. It's a grant that we've gotten for the 17 years that I've worked here, and we do our parenting out of that grant. So we have really great parenting, evidence-based for 0 to age 5. And then for school-age kids, speaking of training, so we're always looking on the lookout for evidence-based parenting education that is quality, but that it may not be, we looked into one today that was 15 weeks long. Our families, it's hard to get them to stick around for that long. And so we're always looking for, tried and true, but also up and coming. So parent education is huge for us.
And speaking of parent education, do you partner with Parent University to maybe host a night where those that don't have access to technology can come and still learn the same information so it's equitable across all?
We've formed some really good new alliances with family school partnerships and
Awesome.
Parent U, so that's been really helpful. And the more we've gotten to work with them, like for instance, if you call Parent University and ask for parenting classes, they don't offer that as far as like what we think of as parenting education. So they're mostly dealing with academics, but because I've done so many outreach events and our tables are together, now they know to refer to me. I'm life serial. So.
Okay. Any questions from the council? All right. Ms. Guzman, back to you.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry, I can't see you. You have to speak up. Thank you. Is that Rebecca?
So, yes, sorry, Rebecca for the record. So Brenda actually brought up something that's a good point about parenting classes, because I work at a school and I'm constantly having parents who are struggling, and it would be a good idea to have that. So I know that Desert Skies has the parenting classes. Is that also going to be available at other centers, just because maybe not everybody can go to Desert Skies, or are you going to go to the people?
Hi,
Brenda.
Rebecca. So for the littles, ages 0 to 5, they're always home visits. So, and all the other ones are offered to home visitors as well. We can get more bang for the buck if we can do it in a class setting and have 10 parents as opposed to one visitor going to one house. But yeah, we will always make it accessible. And again, the pandemic has taught us that we can do Zoom classes. It's harder to teach a Zoom class or a Teams class than in person because it's harder to get the families to interact. They just turn off their camera, but families love it. So we'll meet them where they're at. We definitely will do that.
So would you be open to going to other schools? So like Pine, I work at Pine, so would you be open to doing a class there and having the community? Because a lot of people in that area don't have transportation. And I know that's central.
Yep, we do that
area,
all the
but-
time. Yeah. We just did a little mini parenting session at Glen Duncan. So yeah, we'd be open to that.
Awesome, thank you.
Great question. Any other questions? Back to you, Ms. Guzman. Will you turn your mic on? Thank you.
We can take a look at goal 3 now, which is to increase communication and visibility of the FRCs internally within the school district and externally in community-based organizations and the general public while balancing capacity to provide quality, timely services. So I think that we have come a long way in increasing our visibility within the district. Would we like to have more visibility in the district? Yes, always. But I think that we are always working on that, and we have presented to counselors, nurses, principals, the FACE liaisons, the student graduation advocates. We present each year to Human Services Agency. We've done Spanish radio. We also are having a growing social media presence. We have presented to agencies such as at the Nevada Urban Indian Summit, Safe Embrace, JTNN, the Rotary Club. We had a table at the recent State of Education event. We have presented at the library, so we're definitely out and about and happy to share Family Resource Center information with anyone who will listen to us. We have also done the morning mugs at the schools where we can talk to parents. So basically any opportunity where we can be out networking, we'd be happy to take advantage of that. So I think that's about it for goal 3. Any questions or comments there?
Vanessa or Rebecca, do you have any questions or comments? All right.
Okay, moving on to goal 4. To create a framework for serving families effectively, such as standardized outcomes data to demonstrate the impact of the FRC's annual progress reports and alignment with the school district's strategic plan. So way back in 2020, when we were kind of just starting to get our feet wet with eLogic, we've come a long way with that. And that is a very good source of data for us, as you can see with the information that Wiley has provided. We hadn't even gotten into CallRail back then, so nice to be able to tap into that data as well. We had talked about publishing an annual report, which we have not gotten to, but that's something that we should get back on our radar and be thinking about doing. And we are part of the school district strategic plan under the family engagement section there. So anything to add for that one? Any questions?
Brenda Costello for the record. So we have you guys to thank for some of this, because coming to these meetings makes us regurgitate a bit of that data that we're talking about there. So thanks for holding us accountable.
It's always fun.
I guess I will add, our new superintendent is going to be working on developing a new strategic plan. So we'll need to relook at this goal once that's completed. So it aligns with the new strategic plan.
And that was my question when I asked if these have already been adopted, knowing that there's a new strategic plan coming out in June. Fingers crossed that it comes out, and I would be very curious to sit down with, you or somebody, and make sure that we're aligning with what the superintendent sets out for her vision for the next 2 years. I think it's important for the Family Resource Centers to be a part of that vision. I will always fight for us to be a part of that vision. But also have that conversation of, I think, going back up to the funding goal, yes, we are a part of the community, but we're also a part of the school district, so we're unique in that sense. So how do we secure funding from the school district to keep us? Because ultimately, we've had these conversations and we go round and round, having a stomach that is fed is going to increase attendance, right? Truancy is not going to happen when they know they can go to school and get food, and making sure that food insecurity isn't the reason for lack of education. So I think the more that we preach that message, I hear Rochelle preach it all the time, but the more that we're all on that same message wave that, and I think the superintendent's there too. I've had some great conversations with her, and I think she is a big supporter of the Family Resource Centers. She really is. We just want to make sure that we can get aligned with her strategic plan. Any questions from the council on strategic plan goal 4? Lisa, are you able to email? I'm sure you've emailed the million-page document to us many times, but can you email us
I can certainly
one more
do
time
that.
so it's at the top of my inbox and I can
Yes.
look?
You got it.
I'm going to be on vacation, so I'll need some reading material. I plan to finish the book I'm reading.
And I'll remind this council that part of the requirements of this council is to look at it's the strategic plan or the action plan.
That's the action plan
action
that's
plan?
dictated by the state. Yeah, so
Okay.
different from our strategic plan
And
here.
our elected official, who is Susan Sievert, has to look that over and give her sign of stamp of approval.
And is that done yearly? How often is that?
Typically, that is done yearly. I think with some turnover at the state, that might not have happened in the last year or so, but we'll see if we get back on board with that. And regardless of the directive from the state, it's something that we can take a look at.
Yeah, for the record,
ourselves as
Susan
well.
Stewart, I don't think I've done it since, before the pandemic I did, but I haven't done it lately.
And I only bring that up because I think it's important to not only pair our strategic plan with our action plan, but for some of the newer council members so that they can understand, as my beautiful vice chair said, we haven't seen it in a minute. So I think it would be nice to maybe not make action on it today, but we can talk about that when we write our agenda. Just so that it's fresh in our mind of what really your guys' goals are and how we can support them. Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to get out of here by 7:30. You watch this. We're going to close that item, move on to item 2.06, which is a review of the minutes or the meeting dates for our Council on Family Resource Centers for the upcoming year of 2023-2024. This is for information only. We have a meeting on September 20th of 2023. I can't believe I'm going to say January 17th of 2024, March 20th of 2024, and then June 20th of 2024. These are, this last one is a Thursday meeting due to the holiday. So we will put those promptly in our calendars, please. With that, we'll go to closing item 3.01, public comment.
There is none.
Thank you. Hearing there's no public comment, our next regularly scheduled meeting will be June 21st of 2023, and we are adjourning at 7:30.
Okay, good to see you, Vanessa and Rebecca. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.